Hello, unstoppable real estate investors. Oh, I have a treat for you. Zachary Beach. Man, this guy is just the real deal, one of the top 5 percenters. He's got a couple of podcasts, he's written some books, he does coaching, he's got a boot camp right now in his office. He's got people in there dialing for dollars. Zachary, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to spend about 30 minutes with us, sharing your experience and wisdom.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I'm glad we were able to put this together. I appreciate you having me on. Excited to talk on this, the 5%. So I certainly hope I can fit inside that mold for you here today, but we'll have a ton of fun things to do here.
Yeah, and since your time's limited, I'll just jump right in. We'll start with just what were you doing before real estate? What have you been doing in real estate? What have your challenges been? Where are you at right now? Any plug or pitch you want to put out there? And then the last question will be, if you were to jump up on a rooftop and had a captive audience that was hanging on your every word, what would your advice be? So that's kind of the agenda and the formula. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who Zachary Beach is, pre-real estate,
Yeah,
and how the real estate bug bit you?
yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, so just a short time ago, almost 10 years now, I was a bartender and personal trainer, and I was burned the candle at both ends. Honestly, I grew up with a chip on my shoulder. I always like to say I was a poor kid that grew up in a rich town, so I was always looking for, the kind of the key or the path to creating wealth for me and my family as I had a single mom. So honestly, coming out of college, I had zero idea what I wanted to do. I just was told to do that, so I went ahead and did it. And I started burning the candle pretty hard. Me and my wife, I remember we were sitting there. This is in Newport, Rhode Island. We were sitting there and it was like 4 a.m. We both got done with the shift and we just said there's going to be a better way. So I actually approached my father-in-law who was in real estate before then for, 20 something years. And he got crushed in 2008 and I knew he was reinventing his business. And he was doing this creative financing thing. So I just approached him and said, I have no idea if I'm going to like real estate, but it's going to be a lot better than what I'm doing here now. So of course I threw something else on my plate and I was making cold calls to expired listings during the day when I wasn't doing the other two things. And eventually, it took me about 6 months to get my first deal done, and I was a subject to deal, and we'll probably go into maybe what that means here in a minute. I got my first deal done, and right after that, I went ahead and burned the boats, and it's almost 10 years now that I've been either investing in real estate or training in real estate, training people all across the country as well.
That's awesome. Did you get your real estate license as an agent also?
I did not. I actually never
Okay,
got my real estate
good.
license. Didn't wholesale any deals. Didn't do any fix and flips. I went straight to the most unconventional route that you could go. So I was doing seller financing, subject
Yeah,
to.
I actually work with Cody Barton at Start Virtual, who's Pace Morby's partner in a lot of businesses.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's a lot of sub two people in this community. But why don't you talk about, because that's really unusual for your very first deal out of the gate to go into creative financing. Usually people learn that after they've done some of the really fundamental basic stuff. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I know. Call me naive, but I was, the first deal didn't require any money down. I mean, we paid closing costs, but didn't require any money down. So this particular deal that I purchased, I actually bought it from a gentleman who was going through a divorce. He was a teacher, so he was single at the time, and we're up here in Massachusetts, so it was like maybe a 1900s house.
I
Uh,
was wondering if you were in New England with that wicked smart behind you.
of course, yes, Central Massachusetts, but my office here, we're in Newport, Rhode Island.
Okay.
Yeah, very, very New England. Yeah, acquired this property from this gentleman. He had no equity in the deal. I think we bought it for like 189. We bought it for exact mortgage balance that he had, and then we tend to structure our exits via rent to own, which allows us to tap into our federally trademarked three payday system. And so we bought it that way, and we went ahead and sold it via rent to own as well. It certainly was. I would love to tell you like I got this deal, and then we sailed off in the sunset. Honestly, that first deal, because we're up here in New England, a lot of properties have they're older, may have lead still in them. Well, when I went to do the research on this property, it was actually located in like a town and a subtown. It's Holden, Massachusetts, and Jefferson. One of them said that there was no knowledge of lead. The other one stated that there may be knowledge of lead. So after we placed our tenant buyer in the house, we actually had to then go get a $30,000 lead job. So,
Oh,
it
you had to do the lead abatement. Yeah.
well, exactly. So, as you can imagine, I mean, put yourself in my shoes. I was the son-in-law trying to get involved in real estate investing. I go to try to get my first deal done and ends up becoming a $30,000 lead job. So it was quite the introduction to real estate investing.
And
Uh,
that was the sub two deal?
that was a subject to deal. Yep.
Wow, you dove into the deep end of the pool, man.
Real fast, right? But the beautiful thing about it, right? Because there was really a crossroads that I need to kind of revisit at that point. I could have said, look, real estate doesn't work. Here's all the negative things. Or what we could say is, okay, we got this property. You know, it was a happy ending and towards the end, but there was a lot of lessons learned. And now all of our community and our students, they all have our agreements and they all have led very specific clauses in them now, so that way they don't have to make that $30,000 mistake.
Yeah, you know what I love about what I'm hearing about you, Zachary, is that do you go by Zachary or Zach or
Oh, we're
either?
friends now. Don't worry. Zach's great.
I love that name, Zach. You know what I love about your first deal out of the gate is you weren't daunted by the unusual things that came up and you charged ahead and you didn't let that discourage you because in this business, people don't get it. It's not an easy business. It is not easy. You're not going to get rich quick. It
Yep.
is a profession like a doctor or a lawyer. You need to learn it. You need to do the reps, you need to learn the skills, and you need to hang in there and pay your dues. And so, talk a little bit about the mindset
Yeah.
of getting through that first deal and why it didn't discourage you, what you learned from it, not just technically, but from a mindset point of view. Because I think there's a lot of people watching here who are saying they're real estate investors who have just been hanging out in the fray,
Yeah.
but they're afraid to take action or they just haven't done really a deal yet. So talk about your mindset of being resilient, not like that first, I mean, a sub two with a lead abatement. I mean, talk about that.
Sure. No, I'm glad that you said that it's not easy because in every single one of our presentations, I always tell people real estate can be simple once you have the processes and the systems and tools dialed in, but it's not easy. I mean, certainly if you want an easy business, then you shouldn't be in real estate. This is a
Right.
challenging,
Because you're
but
solving problems other people are running away from. You're solving problems that homeowners don't want to solve. You're dealing with, like, I love Property Brothers. I love watching Jonathan and Drew. And I've watched so many of their shows that it's just like the volume of projects that they do, but the problems they solve, like Jonathan is fearless. Like he will solve foundation issues,
yeah,
trust issues, all of that. You have to, that comes with the territory. So many people get discouraged because uh,
yeah,
and it's, oh, I don't want to do this rehab because it's too much work. That's the whole point.
yeah,
So yeah, talk some more.
yeah. Well, and I'll make sure you guys get our Amazon bestselling book before we leave. That's over my right-hand shoulder. But I actually talk in a revised edition about kind of my upbringing and when it comes to resiliency. See, I was somebody that had challenges with addiction growing up. I had lots of friends who ended up passing away from that when I was growing up. So I think each and every one of us that finds success in any business venture has to go through some sort of resiliency where you got to be challenged mentally, physically. So when I got into real estate, I mean, I kind of already had a bunch of things that went wrong growing up. So I knew that if I could make it past a lot of the challenges that I grew up with, that real estate, was, I don't want to say it's going to be
So
easy.
in a way, that difficult beginning actually, I love what you're saying, Zach, because I know for me and people I've coached over the years, we think there's something wrong that needs to be fixed, or we have to heal from our past. But all of that makes us who we are. And some of those things that have been challenges or problems in our lives actually were good things that happened because we learned how to be resilient. We learned how to persevere. We learned how to have grit and determination. I love that.
Yeah,
Or,
because as you
or
have
you
your
can be a
business,
victim, or you
yeah.
can be a victim, you know?
Well, and if you look at anybody that has any type of success, I'm a big fan of reading, people's autobiographies, biographies, you name it. If you notice, they've all gone through massive challenges if they're going to see any type of success. So I think the reality is if you can't handle, say, and not to say it was easy at the time I was 24 years old, 25, to handle, say, a lead abatement, that was a lot. I mean, on the first deal,
Yeah.
I knew that if I could handle that challenge, I can handle the next one. And honestly, that particular lead abatement probably was one of the least of my worries as we've grown and scaled, a coaching business, a real estate investment business, because the challenges they don't leave, they just evolve. And I think what comes a lot of this is self-confidence. So I talk about that in my story is that when I was going through challenges and addiction, what it really does to you, it actually drastically reduces your self-confidence. And what I used in order to get more self-confidence, I really worked on two things. One was my body. I was a football player, baseball player, sports. So I knew that like if I just get my body in motion, I got that healthy, then mentally I could start to get a rhythm. And at that same time, all I did was because I didn't have a lot of self-confidence, what I did was I listened to other people that had self-confidence. Like I was listening to like Bob Proctor and Tony Robbins and you name it. So instead of listening to music, I would just listen to those like YouTube videos. So as I built my self-confidence, and I knew like I could take on the next thing. So really, that's all it is in real estate investment too. Like you were giving an example of the people on HGTV or somebody like myself, and that is we don't have all the self-confidence to go take on those major problems day one. But what we do is we solve little problems consistently and build up enough wins in our mindset that we can refer back to when we're about to face on a new big challenge. So it's like, yeah, remember that time that we faced that challenge? Well, you can handle this challenge too, because look how you did on the last one. So it's all about building that self-confidence to make, more, as people consider it, more risky decisions with bigger wins. But I wouldn't be able to make that decision unless I proved it to myself in the past.
Love that. So take me from that first lead abatement sub two deal to what's the predominant focus of your business been? Has it been acquiring rentals, fix and flips, wholesaling, a little of everything, and bring us to present day, like your focus and then we can talk about the coaching aspect too.
Yeah, I think it all kind of leads in. The only reason why we even started the coaching business because we wanted to do more real estate deals. Like you were mentioning, we have 20 businesses in our room right now from all across the country, and we're getting back to basics. We're making phone calls. We're talking to sellers. We're tomorrow like we'll be structuring deals, and then we'll be working on a strategy to make sure all of our KPIs line up in order to reach the financial goal at the end of the day. So really what we have focused on in our niche has been rent to own on the exit strategies. It hasn't been like we
Love
definitely
that.
have
Lease options.
100%. So we definitely have rentals. I mean, that's certainly a strategy that we use, but especially when we're training our community, we're focused on rent to own. And the reason for doing that is because we don't necessarily want to be landlords, but I still want to be able to create passive cash flow. So by placing the responsibility on the end buyer, the rent-to-own buyer, the person that needs time in order to qualify for a loan, we're able to not be landlords. But also, importantly, we're able to pull some of our profits off the table day one. Like for most traditional real estate investments, right? You do all the work or you receive some cash flow for a period of time, and then you receive the equity. Instead, we pull some of the equity off the table day one because we're going to collect a nice non-refundable deposit. So talking about being in an unstable market, we're in a very risk-averse position because we have a lot of profits that are already been pulled forward. And we also know that if we can generate enough income now, you can either go reinvest or if people are sitting there listening to this right now, you can more than likely leave your W-2 in a much quicker period of time as well because you're pulling out non-refundable deposits consistently, which adds up to a salary a lot faster than 200 to 600 bucks a month per door at the end of the day. So it fast forwards things forward. So that has been our strategy for the past almost 12 years now in creative financing. We buy on lease options, subject tos, and owner financing. Then we sell on rent to own to buyers that need time in order to qualify for loans. Also, the other major component to this is it's roughly, 4/5 of the amount of people out there that want to become homeowners can't qualify for loans. It's like
Right.
75% of the nation.
I,
It's like a
I,
650 credit score or lower.
yeah, in fact, one of my clients, Andrew Castine, is watching and he does a lot of lease options for the same reason, like loves that. And he's really, I got to get you two connected because
Love it.
he is brilliant at structuring deals. He's just like a genius on that. And you
Well,
two
look
need
forward
to
to it.
get connected. So, Andrew, I know you're watching, but I'll foster an introduction because he's really phenomenal. But I love what you're saying because again, it proves my point that I say often is there are so many ways to make money in real estate. There are so many different kinds of ways, and you found your niche. What's been the biggest challenge for you in your real estate journey? Where's been the biggest rub for you?
Yeah, it depends on the year, right? It depends on the year. It depends on like the revenue growth
And
number
the
of the
market,
property,
right?
the market. Uh, Interesting enough, in like 2019 is when we faced our biggest challenge in our real estate investment company because what happened was when I entered the business and my wife actually joined the family business, we were doing high volumes of rent to own and taking on lots of creative financing deals. We were doing 4 to 10 deals a month. And this is without banks, this is without large down payments, this is without credit checks, like all creative financing deals. And what we were doing because we were doing such volume is we were accepting less than desirable rent to own buyers, meaning because we were just placing volume. So what happened was that all led to a tidal wave in 2019 when we had a
Uh,
decently high default rate and all at the same time. And we had a portfolio of like 75 rent to owns at the time, and we had a decent default rate. So what we did is we revamped the way in which we sell these rent to owns, really fine tuned our process. So again, this is just another thing that happens, right, Ryan, which is you're gonna constantly face challenges, as they say. There's new devils at new levels. So we faced a challenge that we had to maneuver and figure out. But then instead of saying this doesn't work, which unfortunately a lot of people do, we said, how do we improve this process? And now our tenant buyers on our properties now have significantly higher down payments. Like we were accepting right around the 3%. Now our average is more like 5 to 7. So
which is
significant down
still
payment.
better than the average 20%. And I remember when I was much younger, the average down payment was 10 and now
Yeah,
it's 20%. I
yeah.
mean, it's still making it easier for those people that aren't going to qualify for conventional lending and who also don't buy a house because they don't have 20% to put down. So you're still in a niche where you're really helping people
Yeah, and in this, we're definitely helping people. Definitely a market that's not
become homeowners
satisfied.
who
100%.
normally wouldn't have that chance. How are you finding your sellers and how are you qualifying them? I
Yeah,
mean,
great
your
question.
buyers.
Oh,
Excuse me.
buyers. Okay. Yeah. So we're on every single platform that you would have a regular house for sale or for rent on. Just we have a very specific copy or messaging in those in the messaging. So it'd say like willing to rent to own to, buyer with sizable down payment. Willing to do seller financing with somebody with a sizable down payment. So it's just in the copy, and we're mostly in places where people would rent because most people that are renting are looking for rentals have no idea that they can actually qualify for a program or know that these problems exist. So while they're looking for rentals, we then go ahead and show them, hey, instead of just giving your landlord cash flow every single month, right? Instead, let's help you either put down a down payment. Let's help you build up your down payment. Because the truth is, at the end of the day, they still are going to have to qualify for a traditional loan in order to cash this out. So if the traditional loans are at 20% right now down, then we have to eventually get them to 20%. We can just help them do it over 3 years or 4 years. Or if they're self-employed, somebody like myself, I actually bought my first house on a rent to own. for me and my family because I was self-employed. So while I was prospecting for our real estate business, I then just said, "Hey, me and my family would be interested in buying." We ended up talking about a deal structure. This was a 525 house that we bought in right on the Sakonnet River here in Rhode Island. I put down 2,500 bucks in order to secure that property.
That is so awesome. Good for
It was
you.
a great deal, and the easiest way to acquire your own house on a rent to own is by actively prospecting out there and then just simply having a conversation because most sellers, especially in today's market, I mean, the market is so much softer than it used to be because there are people like myself and many others out there that have been talking about this for many years. My biggest challenge, and I was just talking to the group about it, when I first started, I was an educator. Like I had to educate sellers on what this even meant. Nowadays, you even have realtors actively promoting. We'll do seller financing. We'll do
Yeah,
rent.
but it's amazing how many realtors don't get it, don't want to go there, not
Sure.
willing to educate their clients about
Yeah.
it and the benefits of it. Yeah.
There's
So,
so much opportunity right
yeah.
now. So if you're listening to this right now, I mean, there is no better time than to get creative financing than now. Because before people used to think I was crazy, and now they're like trying to get into it. So huge opportunity right now, whether you're currently investing in wholesaling or fix and flip, like this is just
Well,
another thing
especially
to keep.
creative financing, sub two and seller finance because of interest rates. I mean, a lot of them that are trying to sell now, they're in those lower interest rate brackets. So it's just a win-win.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like I think three-quarters of the nation is has a 5% interest rate or lower. And I think I'm being conservative. I believe it's like
I have an
91%.
interest rate of 2.25. I will never refinance my house.
I
And I will
just
probably never pay off my mortgage. Well, one, I don't have to. I've got a couple of rentals
yeah.
on that property that pay my mortgage and my utilities. But,
Yeah,
it's,
the last two sub two deals, I have them both under contract right now, 2.25% and 2.75%.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
love them.
it's nice when you can sub to those. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
huge opportunity for everyone. I mean,
But eventually they are going to have to, you know,
maybe I would sell potentially on a like if I have a good rent to own buyer, I'll sell it on a wrap mortgage later instead of them going to a bank and do it at six. Like you could still do it at 6, 7, 8% in there, and it's still competitive with banks right now. And you're creating the delta, which is a huge opportunity. So that's the long-term play, right? Now we could maybe have another conversation. We'll talk about how to be your own bank.
yeah, that I think it would be great to have you come back later in the year for that because that's another strategy a lot of people in the business don't really understand or know how to do. And I know you have a hard stop in like 4 or 5 minutes. So wanted to ask you, you know, one, if there's something you want to plug or pitch, and then your rooftop message. Like if you had a captive audience
Yeah.
hanging on your every word, what would your advice be? So talk about like anything an ask or a pitch that you want to give.
Well, I'll do a give. I want to make sure that everybody here that is interested in creative financing wants to take it to the next level or wants to fine tune their creative financing process. Because I know there's a lot of people. Actually, the last couple of deals I bought were from wholesalers that just didn't know how to close subject to deals, so I just bought it from them. So if you want to be able to like get on the side of now owning them and running them, let's make sure they get our first Amazon best-selling book. If you just go to wickedsmartbooks.com/experts two. So
So
wickedsmartbooks.com,
Rose, can you write that in the comments, please? Wicked Smart.
wickedsmartbooks.com/experts two. That way we know exactly that came directly from you guys, wickedsmartbooks.com/experts two. And we'll make sure that everyone gets access to that.
Is
And
that the number two after
number
expert?
two, yes.
Got it.
Yep.
All right.
Thank Albert, Massachusetts. I go fast, so I appreciate you slowing me down here for a second. So that's first and foremost. Let's make sure you do that, and you can tap in, and then we'll also invite you to. I run weekly workshops, so if you want to really dive in and go through a bunch of case studies and really see how these things fine tune, make sure you get involved in that. And then as far as if I had a captive audience, I mean, I would just
Rooftop message.
yeah. I would just say, like, if you have the ability to start, and I love what you got written up there, take action, no excuses, just results. Um, Life rewards action. We talk about this a lot, and that is like there's going to be a moment in time where you're going to need to make a decision that's going to drastically change your life. And instead of being the person that has the shoulda, coulda, woulda, just make the decision. I mean, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You're going to end up in the exact same spot that you were before. Like that's what I used to always tell myself. I'm going to quit bartending, personal training. What's the worst that's going to happen? I'm going to have to go back and be a bartender and personal trainer again.
Yeah,
So I know you could be sitting in this exact same spot. Let's make sure 2024 puts you in a different spot here today. So I just encourage people, whether it's me, creative financing, or another strategy, let's change 2024 and let's make it a significant different life for you.
love that. Love that. From one coach to the other, right on, dude. So, um, he's on a deadline, everybody, because he's got an office full of real estate investors that he's coaching and stuff. So we've got a hard stop right now. But Zachary, let's have you come back later in the year on the
Love to.
whole being your own bank. I love that.
Yeah.
And my VA Rose will send you a copy of this recording in the next few days. And thanks so much for making time for us. Any last words you want to say before we wrap up?
No, I just really appreciate you having me on. This is always fun. And certainly hope that we were able to bring some value here today and cause some people to change their lives and go get your first real estate deal. And I guarantee, it's going to drastically shift if you follow that path, your current financial or current personal, life right now.
Thanks so much. Thank you so much, Zach. All right, everybody, use this to inspire and motivate you to take action. No more excuses. Go get results. Buy something or sell something this week. Make offers. Thanks, Zach. Bye,
Bye.
everybody. Happy hump day.